On YouTube, so I wanted to do my top 25 rankings heading into week 13 of the college football season. So really, I think this is either the last or second to last big week of the season. Rivalry week. There's some huge games again this week. Crazy weekend last weekend. Sad day for my OSU Cowboys. But you know what? Move on to the Bedlam game. We have game day here, and hopefully we can win that. So, move into my 5 outside. So, I've got LSU at 5. Now they have lost 3 in a row. Sorry about the sound. There we go. Okay. So, LSU, again, lost 3 in a row. Lost to Ole Miss last weekend. And, you know, like I said, team's kind of falling apart. I thought they would put up a good fight last week. And, I mean, it was okay, but just you can't lose 3 in a row the way they have and then stay in the top 25. All right, so my next one is Georgia, and you know, I want to say they won 4 in a row now. Really, none of them have been pretty though. Might be 3 in a row, but they did beat Georgia Southern last weekend in a, I want to say 20-14 overtime victory, and you know, Georgia does have a respectable record this year. Sorry, I'm getting my phone, and like I said, it hasn't been pretty, but they've been getting it done. Won a couple in a row. They'll probably finish as a 9 or 10 win team somehow, some way. Like I said, hasn't been overly pretty to watch, but you know what? Like I said, they've been getting it done, so they might sneak back into the top 25 before too long. All right, then my last one is Texas A&M. So Texas A&M beat Vanderbilt last weekend 25-0, and yeah, I mean, they've been doing okay. I believe it was Kyle Allen that started last weekend. He's been doing better than he's been doing than Kyler Murray. Been doing better than Kyler Murray did. Really, all Kyler Murray did was get him a victory against South Carolina, and that doesn't look good at all right now since South Carolina just lost to the Citadel. So, move on to my next one, which is Pitt, a team that will probably finish second in the Coastal Division. They did beat Duke, and Duke's just been honestly getting whooped. So, like I said, they will finish second. You know, they did lose to Notre Dame. They lost to North Carolina, but overall they are still 8-3. And you know what? Their 3 losses don't look too bad right now. Look back at it. Their 3 losses are, I believe, Iowa, North Carolina, and like I just said, Notre Dame. All 3. Top 15 teams. So, well, we'll see when the playoff rankings come out for North Carolina. But, yeah, anyway, move on to my last one, which is Utah. Again, a team going through another rough patch right now. Just kind of fell apart after a hot start to the season. They lost to UCLA last weekend. Not much of a surprise. But, you know, really, you want to stay in the top 25. You want to stay in the Pac-12 title race. Obviously, that's a game you got to win. And they do have a winnable game against Colorado this weekend, so maybe they'll be able to sneak back into the top 25 after that. They are still in the top 25 for the coaches poll, but they're just outside for the AP. Excuse me. And then number 25, Temple. So Temple beat Memphis to give Memphis, I want to say, their 3rd straight loss. Might be. And impressive victory. You know, defense still looking good, offense doing what it has to. They're still a 2-loss team that's lost to Notre Dame and Houston. So Notre Dame and Houston, and again, 2 teams that are respectable losses. You know, 2 teams that are still in the top 25, and I think Temple is right where they will finish the year right now. All right, so number 24, Mississippi State, believe inked out a 1-point win against Arkansas, which was crazy because Arkansas has been the team on the other end of that for the last couple weeks. So good win for Mississippi State. Offense played good, defense got to step it up, obviously, but you know. Survive in advance. Obviously, they're pretty much eliminated in the SEC West, but see if you can line up, get a decent bowl game. Move on to number 23, Toledo, and you know what? Toledo was one of the teams they might have been the team, maybe besides South Florida, outside of the Power 5, that I was most impressed with this week. I believe it was either Tuesday or Thursday night. They beat Bowling Green by, I want to say, 20, and like I said, just an impressive victory through and through, 44-28. And, you know, I really didn't see that coming. Bowling Green's been playing fantastic, and Toledo just shut them down. So, good win. Props to them. We on to number 22, Houston. So, Houston lost to... Sorry, guys. A few of these games I'm a little hazy on. All right, so Houston lost to Connecticut. My bad, 20-17, and Houston's been playing some close games this year, and it was going to come back to bite them eventually, I think, and it did. But you know what? They are still a one-loss team. It does have a few impressive wins this year, and they still do belong in the top 25. So move on to number 21, UCLA. So, like I said, UCLA has been an up-and-down team this year, but they do get some big wins from time to time. And that Utah game was a big win for them. So I do think, I want to say they're actually, I think they're the leader right now in the Pac-12 South. They might be tied with Utah. But, yeah, they're tied for Utah. Utah, UCLA, and USC are tied at the top. I don't know if Arizona State's still alive. I hope not. But, it's coming down to the last few weeks. UCLA, I would say, is the favorite right now. But, it's not looking too good for the Pac-12 North for finishing or for having a team in any decent bowl game. I guess if you beat Stanford in the bowl game, then or in the bowl game Pac-12 championship, then yeah, you obviously get a New Year's Six bowl. But again, a Pac-12 South that had a lot of hype, a lot of expectations going into the year, especially for me. I thought it looked like a very deep conference or very deep division heading into the year. This has not been very impressive this year. Excuse me. It also has kind of cannibalized itself. All right. So number 20, Washington State, third best team in the Pac-12 North right now. But you know what? Still doing pretty good. They came out with a pretty big win over Colorado. A Colorado team that's not great, but has put up some good fights this year. Beat them 27-3. And Washington State has been pretty impressive this year. Almost beat Stanford, beat UCLA, and yeah, they're 8-3, really defying expectations. They're not going to win the Pac-12 North by any means, but they can get a good bowl game and a top 25 finish this year. All right, number 19, TCU. Now, a lot of people are going to say this ranking's unfair. I get it, but you know what? Doxson's probably done for the year. Boykin's probably going to have injury trouble for the rest of the year, which is an unfortunate end to the season for TCU. It's hard to see that Baylor game being winnable right now. Like I said, you can't just write Baylor off after they lost to OU last week. It's not the type of team Baylor is. And you know what? That game's not looking very good for TCU. But granted, TCU did put up a good fight against OU this weekend. Was a 2-point conversion away from winning, actually. All right, so move on to number 18, Ole Miss. So hard team to figure out this year. They did beat LSU, and you know they could very easily get a top 15 finish. And I think they're second in the SEC. It's either them or Mississippi State that's second in the SEC West right now. The conference has pretty much been dominated by Alabama since LSU started heading down in the rankings. Yeah. All right. So yeah, they're second right now in the SEC West. It's hard to think that they're 5-2 in the conference right now. They've had a little bit of trouble. Excuse me, over the last couple of weeks, but nonetheless, they had an impressive win, and you know what? They've had they've had a few impressive wins this year. The Alabama one, obviously, being the most impressive of the bunch, but you know, I think they do deserve to be the second best team in the SEC West right now. I do believe that they head into a game this weekend. I do believe it's the Egg Bowl with Mississippi State, and should be a good game. You know, you're looking for one of the better games out of the SEC this weekend. That's definitely going to be one of them. So move on to number 17, Oregon, and a team that's just kind of been on fire of late. So Vernon Adams played a great game against USC, won 48-28, a game that I didn't see coming up. I mean, it's USC though, so you never know. But you know what? Impressive victory again. So that makes it USC and Stanford in back-to-back weeks that you beat, and those are two quality teams. And the way Oregon's playing right now, I would say that they're better than the 17th best team in the country, but you know, keep them where they are. They do have 3 losses. Some of the losses aren't very good, and you know what? If they keep winning, they could salvage what looked like a lost season and maybe a 10 or 11 win season. So, props to them. All right, so move on to number 16, Northwestern, and a team that's just hard to figure out this year. This is not a same Northwestern team of years past. It just kind of collapsed at the end. You know, put up a good fight against Wisconsin. Not a very entertaining game to watch by any means, but you know what? They still won. I believe it was 13-7, and Wisconsin's a team that's been playing pretty well. So I don't know if it'd be interesting if they were. I don't know if Northwestern's still alive in the Big Ten race. Nope, they are eliminated in the Big Ten West. I think I will lock that up this weekend. But you know what? They are a very good team in the Big Ten West. They did get dominated by Iowa, granted, but you know, obviously they earned the title as the second best team in that division. All right, so number 15, Florida State. Not much to say. Beat Chattanooga. I believe it was Chattanooga pretty bad. anyway, they head into a game with Florida this weekend that could eliminate Florida from the college football playoff. So move on to number 14, Stanford. And, big game this weekend against Notre Dame. I don't think Stanford really has a chance to make the college football playoff still. They might still have, like, very, very slim odds. But at this point, they're fighting for a better ranking and good spot in the New Year's Six Bowl. They did lock up the Pac-12 North last weekend. And, they do have some frustrating losses. The Oregon one was tough, and obviously the way they started against Northwestern, but good season through and through for Stanford. All right, so move on to number 13, Michigan, and Ohio State game this week. So see what they can do. Obviously, Ohio State looking a little weak right now after the loss to Michigan State without Connor Cook. Not one that I saw coming, but obviously I don't think Ohio State's eliminated by any means. But actually, they might be. I think with that, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure on the Big Ten situation right now because Ohio State, Michigan State, and Michigan are all one-loss teams. So Michigan is still alive in the Big Ten. They could still win. Depends. I think Michigan State's playing Penn State this week, so Penn State's a team that can pull off an upset. I had them beating Michigan last week. It did not happen. Good win for Michigan. But see what they can do. All right, so move on to number 12, Navy, and I have them ranked a lot higher than I think the college football playoff rankings will. They're like number 15 in the AP poll too. But I think this is right where they belong. If they can beat Houston, obviously they're not going to make the playoff, but a New Year's Six Bowl is definitely in the question. If they can win the AAC, then they could get that top 10 ranking to finish the season. Obviously, they do have to get through Houston. I think it is not this week, but next. I'm not entirely sure on that though. Nope, it actually is this week, this Friday. So looks like the game that's going to decide the AAC, at least decide who wins the West, and we'll go. I think go and play Temple in the conference championship. I'm not sure if South Florida's still alive, but we'll see. All right, so number 11, Florida. Not impressive wins over the last 2 weeks. Inked out one against Vanderbilt, and then barely won against Florida Atlantic. Two very not good teams. So they're still winning. The defense is playing okay, but the offense does not look good under Treon Harris. It's the Treon Harris offense you expect. I believe that Florida was genuinely a top 10 team, maybe even a top 5 team with Will Grier, but offense can't move the ball as well anymore. The defense is a championship defense, but the offense is a little lackluster. I think they really are the LSU of. I don't know if they're the LSU differences, but they are still alive. They have to get if they get past Florida State this weekend, they win that game, then they'll get back inside the top 10. And obviously, if they can beat Alabama, which is a long shot, but you never know, then I think they're in the college football playoff. All right, so move on to number 10, North Carolina. Looks like if they can get past NC State this week, and NC State's obviously a big rivalry game for them, and one that's never been guaranteed. NC State is still a pretty good team this year, but North Carolina survived Virginia Tech last week at 30-27 win in overtime. But you know what? They got through it. I don't think they're going to be this high in the college football playoff rankings. I think they should be, but they won't be. Ever since that South Carolina loss, they've been one of the best teams in the country. I genuinely believe, and could be a tough game for Clemson in the conference championship. All right, so move on to number 9, Oklahoma State. Just tough game against Baylor. Offense looked terrible, I'll be honest. Defense played okay. They were just really got outmatched. So they head into a huge game this weekend against OU. I'm pretty sure they're eliminated from the college football playoff, but obviously a big bowl game, and the conference title's on the line game day this weekend with the Bedlam game. And yeah, it's going to be a huge game. So move on to number 8, Ohio State. Just tough loss. Not really a last-second field goal, but did lose by a fourth-quarter field goal to Michigan State. Game that Ohio State really should have won. There's no other way around that. Michigan State did play very well. Defense was very spirited. Offense did what it had to do to win. But Ohio State had pretty much every advantage. They should have won, and they didn't. And you know what? That might cost them the college football playoff. We'll see what happens this week. Obviously, they got a huge game against Michigan, but not a good way to end the season, or at least not end the season, but not a good way to finish off the season against Michigan State. All right, so move on to number 7, Baylor, and they responded extremely well against Oklahoma State after losing to OU the week before. I'm not sure if they're still alive in the college football playoff race. I think it's a little bit of a long shot just because TCU's dropped so much that winning against Texas and TCU just doesn't say that much. Obviously, there's going to have to be a lot happening inside the top 4, and OU will have to lose this week. But they do have a big game against TCU this week that is very winnable for them. And, yeah, just a good response for Baylor. All right, so moving on to number 6, Oklahoma. Some people could say this is a low ranking. And yes, I mean, I don't know. It's just, you look at the teams inside the top 5 that I have, and none of their losses is as bad as Texas. Granted, OU's had some big wins, but again, every team inside the top 5 just has a better looking schedule. I know its strength schedule is hard to go by. For me, OU wins this weekend. They should be in the playoff, depending on how Iowa does. But if they lose, then, obviously they're done. So, OU, I'm not... ranking position really doesn't matter. I really genuinely believe if you beat Oklahoma State, then you're in. But if you lose, it doesn't really matter if you were in or not this week. You're not going to make it anyway. So, move on to number 5, Michigan State. Oh, touch back on OU right quick. Good win, but a little too close for a TCU team without Doxson and Boykin. All right, so move on to number 5, Michigan State. So, big win against Ohio State. Did what they had to do to keep their season alive, and they did it. Obviously that Nebraska loss is hindering them a ton right now. They could be a top 3 team right now if they did not lose to Nebraska. Maybe even, I don't know if they jump Alabama, but it's hard to say. So, keeping their college football playoff hopes very alive and well. And if they do beat Penn State this weekend, then I believe they're in the conference title against Iowa, which is honestly could be a pretty good game. Move on to number 4, Iowa, and survived the schedule up until this point, and I'm not ready to say I really genuinely don't believe that they would beat Notre Dame in a one-on-one game. Or I don't even know if they'd beat any team in the top 10. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Iowa doesn't really blow teams out, but I mean, there's a lot of teams in the top 10 that haven't been blowing teams out this year. But they're still undefeated. They're one of 2 undefeated teams left in the country actually, I think they're only one of 2 undefeated teams in the country left. So, obviously, they're in the playoff right now, and clear road to the conference title. You win the conference title. Not only are you in, but again, probably a top 3 seed. All right, so move on to number 3, Notre Dame, and survive Boston College. I mean, I don't know, it's Boston College. So anyway, get through the Stanford game this week, and you're in. I mean, unless there's a huge shakeup this week, but that's a huge game. That's not some game that they're just automatically in. I mean, it'll be a fun game to watch. All right, so move on to number 2, Alabama, and I don't think it'll be too hard for them to get past Auburn this week. It's hard to tell just because, I mean, it is the Iron Bowl, but it is a game in years past that hasn't always been close just because the teams are drastically different. There's a few games. Ohio State, Michigan's one of them. OU, Oklahoma State, I think, is another. Just where it doesn't really matter the year. The rivalry game is probably going to be close no matter how good or bad the 2 teams are heading into it. And I just don't think that the Iron Bowl is exactly that way. While it is a hated rivalry, I don't really know if Sean White's coming back this week either, and I just don't think any Auburn fan has the confidence in Jeremy Johnson to win that game. So yeah, Alabama win, and then have a tough matchup with Florida in the SEC championship, but again a very winnable one at that. So obviously win out and you're in. All right, so move on to number 1, Clemson, and yeah. Beat Wake Forest. I believe they play South Carolina this week. And in years past, that's been a tough game for them. And I do think it'll actually be a close game. South Carolina's played some tough games this year. But as a whole, it hasn't looked very good. As long as Clemson can take care of business, not choke too bad, then they'll win. Obviously they should definitely win, but it's a rivalry game. You never know. All right. So that's pretty much it. It should be a very interesting week in college football. College football playoffs should be pretty much set this week. Obviously, you still got conference championships, but yeah. So, like I said, very interesting week coming up ahead, and I'll should be coming back with my predictions video for this week either later tonight or tomorrow. Sorry, still a little bit sick, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah.